Hello everybody, it is Katie here from the Queen of Teen Fiction. I am wearing a Harry Potter related t-shirt, which you probably can't see on the camera because I didn't think this through very well. That can only mean one thing, and that thing is, it's time to talk about The Cursed Child. This book, in all its beautiful Harry Potter glory, it's such a pretty book. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the pretty? So, unless you've been hiding under a rock for the past year, you'll know that there is currently a Harry Potter play going on in London. Cursed Child Part 1 and 2. It is a continuation of Harry Potter from the moment we left the books at the end of Deathly Hallows. That play has been released in script format so that we can all read it. So I probably don't even have to tell you this, but Harry Potter is basically my life. It's the longest fandom that I've been in. I've been around for a long time. The things that I've seen. These books are the reason that I am the person that I am today. That's not me being dramatic. I wouldn't be a reader if it wasn't for Harry Potter, because before Harry Potter I didn't enjoy books. Like, you could not get me to pick up a book to read for fun. And then my mum introduced me to Harry Potter, and yeah, the rest is history. So I owe a lot to J.K. Rowling and her wonderful mind. I've always thought that there is a possibility we would at some point get a continuation of the story, whether that come in the form of a prequel or a sequel. I always thought it would be more about next gen because there's such a possibility there with the fact that our characters from Harry Potter all have children that are going to Hogwarts at the same time. There has always been that possibility that we will get a next gen story. However, I didn't expect it to come in the form of a play. The announcement of the play last year really did come as quite a surprise, and I had two emotions. One was, of course, sheer joy and excitement that we were getting more Harry Potter related things. My next was, shit, this is a play. Now, I love theatre, I love plays, I love going to see them, but I am a very poor, very sad person who unfortunately doesn't get to go and see theatre a lot. I've only ever been to see one production down in London, and that was because my college paid for it. So yeah, the problem with a play is that it's a lot more limited than a book. So I knew when they first announced it that a lot of the Harry Potter fans wouldn't actually be able to witness this play. And then they announced that it was going to be published as a script, and honestly, I've never been so happy and relieved in all of my life because I was going to get to learn this story for myself instead of seeing it in spoilers on the internet. So I was really excited. So before I start getting into discussing the script itself, I'm gonna go off on a little rant. In the 2 weeks or so leading up to the script coming out, I saw a lot of tweets and posts on Tumblr from people who had been lucky enough to see the play in its preview stages. And the thing that really annoyed me is, whilst I was getting really excited for this script to come out and for everyone to jump back into the wizarding world, there were some people that were just acting like such downers. I genuinely saw posts from people who had seen this play saying, you need to go and see it as a play. You're not going to get the full magic of it if you read it as a script. The script is going to disappoint you because it's meant to be seen as a play. First things first, we're not stupid. We know that we're not going to get the full magical experience of this through reading it because it's a play. We know this! You're telling us things that we already know. Just I wouldn't have been so mad if it was like one person saying this, but I saw a few things about it, which is why I wanted to rant about it a little bit. Because I actually got into a debate with somebody on Tumblr about this. This person told me to just go and see the play because I wasn't going to enjoy reading it as a script. And I was like, first of all, don't speak for me. I'll form my opinion in my own way. And then he was like, you can't form an opinion unless you see it as a play. I usually don't like confrontation, but I was ready to confront at this point. Of course, because you've told me to see the play, I'm just gonna go accio some cash to go down to London and see it. I mean, yeah, that's gonna happen, right? Just, it sounded so condescending. The tickets for this play are reasonably priced. There are affordable tickets for everyone, but that is not the point. I live in England, but I live in the north of England. I can't afford to travel down to London, to stay in London, to see this play. I could afford tickets for the play, but I wouldn't be able to afford to actually get to it. And that's me, actually in England. Those of you who live outside the UK, who would literally have to fly here, pay for flights to see this play, you know, it's very limited. And I just felt like those who had seen the play and were saying stuff like that were kind of raining on the parade of those of us who were excited about the script. Like, you're lucky enough to have seen the play. Be grateful that you've had that opportunity. And just shush. just let the rest of us read the script and form an opinion about the script, because that is how we're going to learn the story. That was just a little thing that I got a little bit angry about, so I had to talk about it. But you didn't come here to see me rant, you came to see me talk about this script. So usually with my reviews I normally do a spoiler-free section at the start and then jump into talking about spoilers. I don't think I'm going to do that with this because there's not really much I can say without wanting to just delve right into the plot. So basically, if you haven't read the book yet, then don't watch my video because I'm going to talk about all the things. So before I actually started reading this, I was very nervous because of the posts that I'd seen from people who had seen the play. They'd said that we'd be disappointed by the script. I was very nervous going into it, thinking, oh my god, I've been so excited about this and I'm going to hate it. That was not the case at all. I had nothing to be worried about. Going in, I expected it to not feel like canon. I knew that it was going to be kind of fanfiction-y because it's not just J.K. Rowling writing it. I knew that the characters would be a little off at times. I expected that. So going in with that expectation, I wasn't disappointed and I really, really enjoyed the story. I mean, this plot is wild. It really is wild, and I do have a few issues, but I didn't let that take away from the fun of going back into the wizarding world and seeing all my favourite characters again and meeting some new fantastic characters. So although it didn't really feel like a proper continuation of Harry Potter, I really, really enjoyed it. I was very excited to finally meet the next-gen characters properly. Doing a next-gen story, I always thought there would be a possibility that Albus and Scorpius would be friends, because that's the perfect scenario, isn't it really? Harry and Draco's kids end up the best of friends. And this script delivered that. It actually gave us canon best friends Scorpius and Albus. This is the thing, they're both sorted into Slytherin. Just, can you get any more perfect than that? Yes! I think my absolute favourite thing about this book is Albus and Scorpius. Their friendship and their characters. Scorpius Malfoy. Oh my god! I loved him so much. I did not expect my favourite character from this to be Draco's son. I mean, I know the main focus of this book is supposed to be Albus and Harry and their relationship, but at times I did feel like Scorpius was kind of the main character. When this play was announced, I had absolutely no idea what this plot was going to revolve around. So Albus and Scorpius being the two main characters, I mean, that's just everything that I wanted and more, basically. Now, I know there have been a few conflicting opinions about the friendship between Albus and Scorpius and whether it hints towards it being more than friendship. I am going to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about it later. I want to carry on discussing the plot and stuff first, but I will talk about it because I have an opinion. I'm going to share the opinion. For now, let's just focus on how wonderful their friendship is. So the play starts exactly where Deathly Hallows left off, with Harry on the platform giving that whole talk to Albus about Slytherin and Gryffindor. You know, he assures his son that if he's in Slytherin it'll all be fine, and you know, all was well. Except all was not well, really, was it? Because that whole conversation just goes to shit when you think about it, because Albus does end up in Slytherin and it goes dramatically wrong. When he boards the Hogwarts Express with Rose, they're already friends, obviously, because they're cousins. And then you have Albus meeting Scorpius. The minute Scorpius spoke, I loved him. When he says, "Hi, Scorpius," I mean, I'm Scorpius. He's so precious. I love the fact that he's shy and awkward and quite dorky. He is everything that Draco wasn't. He is the complete opposite of his dad. And Albus is also the complete opposite of Harry, and I loved that. That's just one of the things that this play got so right, was the characterizations of these two boys. It's just perfect. So, much to the dismay of Rose, Albus and Scorpius end up becoming friends, they both get sorted into Slytherin, and then everything sort of goes wrong for them. There are rumours that Scorpius is secretly the son of Voldemort, so he's outcasted, and then Albus, because he's a Potter in Slytherin and he's not living up to his father's name, he's outcasted as well. But these two poor boys, in their outcasted state, end up forming such a great friendship. I adored how this play dealt with Albus having to be faced every day with that expectation of being Harry's son, because that's such an important part of this. And I mean, I know he does make a few very stupid decisions, but he is under a lot of pressure, and I do feel sorry for him. So even when he did stupid things like going back in time and fucking everything up, I understood and I empathised with his character. So obviously one of the main themes within the script is the father-son relationship between Harry and Albus. Harry Potter. We need to talk about your parenting skills. Going into this play, I did not expect to think Harry Potter was a complete dick, but at times, he was a complete dick. Some of the things that he said to Albus in the heat of the moment, I mean, I can understand why you'd say stupid things when you're having an argument with your son, but I just don't think he dealt with anything very well at all. And it was really sad to see those scenes between them. But obviously that's what this play is about, really. You had to have that to have the drama between them. In contrast to that, you have Draco as a father. Draco Malfoy, yes. While we're just on the subject, I'm just jumping from topic to topic here, but Draco Malfoy was one of the best things about this book. Don't even argue with me. Finally, all these years later, we are getting Draco Malfoy's redemption. Draco coming in and telling Harry how it is. I lived for it. He literally just scolds Harry for keeping their kids apart, because later in the book we know Harry splits up Albus and Scorpius' friendship. He doesn't want them hanging around together because he thinks Scorpius is a bad influence on Albus, because of his family basically. So you've got good old judgmental Harry Potter thinking, oh, son of Malfoy, he's going to be a certain way. And so Draco steps in and basically says to Harry, don't you dare keep our kids apart, let them be friends. Draco being such a good person. Draco getting involved. Draco. I'm so grateful for Draco in this script. This is what I wanted. And the poor Malfoy family. Draco has to deal with losing his wife, and so Scorpius is dealing with losing his mother. And that's so sad, especially when you have the conversation later on between Harry and Draco, where Draco is talking about how much Astoria changed his life and calmed him down. Yeah, I absolutely loved the relationship between Draco and Scorpius, and I loved the way Draco handled things better than anybody would have expected him to. I'm so happy with how this script portrayed his character. So obviously we've all read the book. We know what it's about. Revolves around time travel. The relationship between Harry and Albus is very tense, and then Albus overhears a conversation between Harry and Amos Diggory about Cedric and time turners, and Albus thinks it's a really clever idea to steal the time turner, go back in time, and stop Cedric Diggory from dying. Which, by the way, that was a surprise in itself, because of all the plots I could think of for this play, Cedric Diggory wasn't one of them. Wasn't expecting that. So Albus and Scorpius flee from the Hogwarts Express and come face to face with the Trolley Witch. Anything from the Trolley Dears has never sounded so sinister. What was with that scene? I had to put the book look down after reading that because... what? I was laughing and I wasn't sure that I should be laughing, but it was really quite funny and very random. I don't know whether it was necessary or not. But yay for Trolley Lady getting a backstory. Definitely a little bit scared of her pumpkin pasties now. Scorpius's reactions though. I mean, his reactions to absolutely everything. I was going to mark in the book some of my favourite quotes from him and stuff, but we'd be here all day if I were to point them out to you. Everything he says, on point. So they get this time turner, and helping them along in all of this is Delphi Diggory, Amos Diggory's niece that we knew nothing about. So let's talk about Delphi, shall we? The secret love child of Voldemort and Bellatrix Lestrange. I mean, at this point, when I found out that she was Voldemort's daughter, that was one of the few points where I was like, this is a bit too fanfiction-y for me. Of all the possible plot points you could come up with, Voldemort's secret child. I mean, really, I've read fics like this. It's kind of one of those out there plots that you laugh about. You don't expect it to actually be a thing. So I'm a little bit disappointed that they went with that, but hey, it made for a very interesting story. But at this point, it kind of did feel to me a little bit like Star Kid had made another very pop musical, but without the musical side. I feel like Star Kid have already predicted half of the things that have happened in this, but you know. So yeah, Delphi is the daughter of Voldemort and Bellatrix. Voldemort never knew about her. It also would have meant that Bellatrix was pregnant with her when she killed Dobby. So like during that scene in Malfoy Manor, Bellatrix would have been pregnant. We'll just go with the plot holes because it's fun. So Delphi was a character that I didn't know how to feel about because she didn't really feel like a good villain to me. She wasn't very intimidating, like with Voldemort and with Umbridge as well. I always felt chilled by their scenes because they were really good villains. Whereas Delphi, I kind of felt she was a little whiny brat that just wanted to get her own way. And so every time she did something cruel, like killing poor Craig. Poor Craig! But yeah, it didn't have as much emotional impact because I wasn't really intimidated by her. But she's an interesting character. I didn't expect her to be Voldemort's daughter though, I will say that. I thought maybe she'd be some creepy fangirl that just wants to live up to him, but no, she's his actual child. Do we want to think about Voldemort and Bella conceiving a child? I mean, would Voldemort even do that? Really? I mean, I know Bellatrix would go there because she's the biggest Voldemort fangirl of them all. But would Voldemort do that? So yeah, this whole time turner thing is her plot to go back and make Voldemort great again. Obviously when the boys go back in time and save Cedric, it fucks up royally, like Back to the Future style bad. When they come back the first time, Ron and Hermione aren't married and Rose doesn't exist. When they go back the second time and come back to the future, you're at the end of part 1 and I loved that ending. It was wild, but I absolutely loved it because poor Scorpius is there on his own. Umbridge is there. They're celebrating Voldemort Day for Voldemort and Valor. Voldemort Day. Can we make this a thing? Can we actually have Voldemort Day? Let's celebrate it. I was horrified and laughing at the same time. So yeah, part 2 is Scorpius trying to fix this mess. The world is completely different in this alternative universe. He goes, he finds Snape. We have a scene with Snape. The squad get involved. We go back again, fix everything, and then Delphi gets involved, steals the time turner, takes Albus and Scorpius back, and that's when they realise that she's not a good person. All the parents get together and decide to go back because Draco's got this hidden time turner. Yeah, so all of that stuff happens. They do resolve it in the middle of Godric's Hollow. And yeah, those final few scenes are really great. I love the interactions between the characters. Seeing Draco and Harry finally make amends and see each other as friends for the first time, yes, that's what I wanted from this script, and that's what it gave me. So yeah, I'll just talk about the characters that I haven't mentioned just a little bit. Hermione and Ron, I thought their characters were on point. Ron was definitely how I'd imagine an older Ron making embarrassing jokes all the time, being still an awkward husband. Then you have Hermione, Minister for Magic. Of course she'd be Minister for Magic. I mean, obviously she would. So I loved their characterizations in this. I loved their relationship as well. There were some really funny scenes revolving around Ron and Hermione. I liked the relationship between Harry and Ginny as well, because a lot of it was meaningful conversation, and I enjoyed reading that. I've already mentioned how much I love Draco, so you don't need to hear me say that again. I was happy that we got to see McGonagall still slaying. We got a few scenes with the portrait of Dumbledore. They felt a little weird to me, those scenes between Harry and Dumbledore when they had conversations. But like I said, the characters do seem off a little bit at times. It might be because they're being written partly by somebody else, or it might just be because they're older. They are different characters to what we remember, but it didn't take away from the enjoyment of the script for me, so that was really important. What other characters? We don't see Neville, which I'm a little bit disappointed about. I was very surprised to see Snape still alive in that alternative universe. I didn't expect to see him with Snape, but I really enjoyed it. He had a little conversation with Scorpius that I'm going to talk about in a minute. I enjoyed his conversations with Scorpius. So whilst we're on the subject of that, let's get this over with and talk about Albus and Scorpius, shall we? Now, their friendship being interpreted as more than just friendship. I have been active in online fandom for a long time. We do a lot of shipping, and I know that a lot of us online are guilty of sometimes creating things that aren't really there. However, with Albus and Scorpius, I don't think this is people just inserting subtext where there isn't any. I can genuinely fully understand why people have interpreted this friendship as being more than just friendship. Now, people have made some very valid points about how we shouldn't just automatically pair two male characters who are great friends as being romantic, because that's quite damaging. We need male friendships where they are open with each other and where they can be affectionate without it being romantic. But the thing is, we've had two great male friends in Harry Potter's world before, with Harry and Ron, and Albus and Scorpius don't read like Harry and Ron to me. There are several instances which seem just a bit more. It's not because they're always awkwardly hugging and are very emotionally open with each other and honest about how much they care for each other. It's not that, because you can do that as a platonic friend, obviously. But there are just a few little things that make me go, really? The scenes where Harry stops Albus and Scorpius from seeing each other, these boys are like genuinely really heartbroken. It felt like more than just being kept away from a friend. Another thing that raised my eyebrows a little bit was when Scorpius was clearly jealous of seeing Albus with a girl. When Albus was becoming friends with Delphi, and Delphi seemed a little bit flirty, even though she is 20 and Albus is 14. That was a little bit weird. Scorpius, you could tell he was jealous. It was the fact that it specifically said part of him didn't like seeing Albus with a girl. That kind of felt like it was hinting at something. But the main thing for me, why I could understand why people were saying that it was baiting, the conversation between Scorpius and Snape. Snape actually compares Scorpius and Albus to him and Lily. When he's talking about what Scorpius is going through for Albus, and he talks about how he failed Lily, and he's talking about his love for her and stuff, and that inspires Scorpius to keep fighting for Albus. I just felt like that was symbolising something more. It did feel like Snape was comparing his love for Lily to Scorpius's love for Albus. I mean, that could have been completely unintentional, accidentally put, didn't actually mean anything at the time when they were writing it, but it's easy to see why people can see this as baiting. I don't think that it was worded correctly. Like, personally, if I was writing it and I wasn't setting up Albus and Scorpius as a romantic relationship, I definitely would have worded that scene a lot different. And then you had Act 4, Scene 14. After everything has been resolved, you have the scene where Scorpius has asked out Rose. She's turned him down, but you know that there's hope there. and it's hinting at something more. Both Scorpius and Albus are talking about girlfriends, things like that. That scene to me felt really out of character and randomly placed and not necessary. It didn't add anything to the overall story. This relationship with Scorpius and Rose, I had a few issues with as well. I felt like it could have been more. They didn't really set them up as very good love interests. I just felt like it wasn't necessary for this story unless they were going to include a little bit more between them. It didn't add anything. And the thing that really annoyed me is Rose's character. I was so excited to get to know more about Rose. The daughter of Hermione and Ron. I was so ready to meet this badass witch. And then she ended up being really disappointing because she wasn't in it much for a start. I thought she was going to be in it a lot more than she actually was. She wasn't very nice. I mean, I can understand kind of why she acts the way she does because she's Hermione's daughter, she's very headstrong, but I felt like the way she was acting at times was quite unnecessary. And then that Act 4 Scene 14 felt like a bit of added insult because it just made her a love interest to Scorpius. That's basically all she was. The comments about her throughout the book were mostly from Scorpius being in awe of her. She should have been more than that. Personally, that's how I felt. And I was really disappointed that we didn't get more of her character without her just being something for Scorpius to aim for. So that scene really disappointed me. I'd have really got behind their relationship if there had been more to it, but there wasn't. This book focused way more on Albus and Scorpius. So yeah, that's my opinion on that matter. This book's starting to hurt my hand now because I've been talking forever. I might put it down. I'm gonna put it down now. So that's basically the story in a nutshell and my opinions on it. So I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to talk about. See, this is where I really regret not taking any notes because I've forgotten everything even though I've just finished it. Some people didn't like the time traveling plot and they thought that it was a lazy plot idea because it's what everyone goes to. I actually really enjoyed it being about time travel. I liked the going back in time and seeing things from the main story. So I actually really liked the time travel plot. Yes, I know there is a lot of plot holes with concerns to the time turners and how any of it was possible. Yeah, lots of people have pointed out flaws and stuff, but I didn't look too much into that. I tried not to think about that because I just wanted to enjoy the story, and I feel like you enjoy it a lot more if you don't think about how it's completely fucked up. So yeah, I'm not really bothered about those plot holes. Like I said, while the characters seemed a bit off at times, I mostly really adored them. But I will say that I enjoyed following Albus and Scorpius more than I enjoyed following the adult versions of our characters. I just felt like they were more fun and had better dialogue, whereas everything with the adults was a bit more serious, obviously because they're adults and they have to deal with all the shit that the kids have caused. But yeah, Albus and Scorpius were the best thing about this book. Like I said though, I really enjoyed the Harry and Draco thing. I enjoyed Draco finally being involved, finding out more about how he was feeling during the actual Harry Potter series as well, when he admits that he was jealous of Harry's friendship with Ron and Hermione and that was all that he wanted. My little heart! So yeah, there were so many good aspects about this script that I really loved. A lot of people were complaining that it was a script and not a novel, things like that. None of that bothered me. I was just really grateful to go back into the wizarding world, to see old favourite characters, to meet new ones. From this I've gotten Scorpius Malfoy and I'm very grateful. Anyway, I feel like I should kind of wrap this up now because I feel like I've been speaking for weeks. But as always, I'll leave a link to my Tumblr ask in the description, and if you want to discuss all the things, then please come and discuss all the things with me, because I love Harry Potter and I love talking about Harry Potter, and I will gladly talk your ear off about this script. Also, feel free to comment your thoughts and feelings down in the comments. Do you agree with anything that I've said, or do you completely disagree with me? Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye!